On today's episode of the Kickstart My Franchise podcast, from water damaged homes to fire ravaged buildings, we're going to deep dive on a brand new franchise concept that is shaking up the restoration industry. Disaster Blaster. Let's go. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Kickstart My Franchise podcast. I'm your host, Tim Michaels. Here at Kickstart My Franchise, we are setting out to revolutionize the franchise buying experience. That means you get 100% free expert advice and up to $10,000 cash back after closing. Today, I'm here with a very exciting guest. He has been in the restoration industry for over 28 years. He co-founded a franchise along with his father. Please join me in welcoming Matthew Lyons.
Thank you for having me.
So I guess the first thing, Matthew, is I noticed that you guys are located in Scranton, Pennsylvania, and I'm sure you're sick of people asking about the office, but any ties to the office?
Disaster Blaster, actually, we had a magnet on the fridge. So if you rewatch the show, and a lot of people still do, you may see it. I think it was on for about 2 seasons. But we still get requests to this day from fans that want us to send them a magnet for their fridge. So.
That is awesome. That is awesome. So maybe you can give our listeners just a little bit of the background on how you guys got started, what are the services you offer, etc.
Sure. So, going back before our involvement in the restoration space, my father was in insurance claims for a very long time, working his way up to a high-level claims manager. At one point, working in corporate America, it's just kind of how it works sometimes. He ended up being subject to a layoff, and being familiar with the restoration space and the opportunities there. He decided that he wanted to get into that industry. So he purchased a competing franchise brand at the time. I worked through that company and then ultimately purchased my own franchise. And then about 18 years ago, we decided that we really saw some things with the restoration industry that we would like to change. And that's kind of what led us to founding Disaster Blaster together. So we could kind of, make those adjustments and do things a little bit differently.
And when we say restoration industry, I know that can entail a lot of different things. Can you talk about, just some of the services that you guys offer?
Sure. So Disaster Blaster is in the mitigation and restoration space, property restoration for commercial, residential, industrial, schools, pretty much anything of that nature. And we do everything from water damage mitigation and mold remediation to fire and smoke damage cleaning, asbestos abatement, radon mitigation, meth lab remediation, storm damage response. We actually offer the most services in the industry at this point. So we have a lot of ways that we can help property owners.
And is there like a typical split? Like, I assume meth lab is not 90% of your revenue.
I hope it never is, but unfortunately, it is something that is becoming more and more prevalent. And because of the potential hazards there, it does need to be remediated in a specific way, which is why they need the experts when something like that does occur. A traditional split, you're going to see primarily the water mitigation, the mold remediation, asbestos abatement is a pretty large service. Fire and smoke damage cleaning, of course. But really, because of the number of services we provide, you kind of different services are needed at different seasonal periods of the year. So it's something you kind of adjust with as you go.
Mm-hmm. And can you talk to us a little bit about what are the startup costs? If I want to get this off the ground, what do I need to buy? What do I need to pay for?
So the startup costs range from about 136,320 to 242,701, which includes the franchise fee, the equipment package, the training, pretty much everything we help our franchisees through. So initially, we will make arrangements for them to complete certification training in the restoration space. So they're going to have those credentials and qualifications. And then they're going to come to our offices here in Scranton, so they'll get to see, the home of the office, and here they'll learn, project management, estimating, how our processes and services fit together, those sorts of things.
In terms of a day in the life of a franchisee, maybe walk us through like what that could look like. Are you guys looking for owner operators, semi absentee, both?
So as a prior franchisee myself, and my father as well, we feel very strongly that anybody that is purchasing a business, and a franchise is very much a business of their own to grow and develop. The expectation should be there to eventually build that up and grow something that they can operate semi-absentee. Presently, I work about maybe 3-4 hours a week in the local business, with the majority of my time focused on franchise development and franchise sales. Our franchisees can, they don't have to, take on another job. They can golf or something. But I think that ultimately that should be something that should be a goal and an opportunity. So we support them through that entire process. Generally, what they're going to be looking at is they'll be adding staff as they grow and develop. So eventually they'll have, an estimator, a project manager, and they can kind of at that point step back and focus on growing the business instead of directly working in it every day.
And who is well positioned to become, a franchisee as far as like their profile? Do they have to be outgoing? Like, what do you guys look for?
I think from the standpoint of anybody that likes to fix things, that likes to help other people, at the end of the day, that's largely what we do. When someone calls a disaster blaster office, they're calling them on their worst day. They're calling them because they had a pipe break, they had a fire in their house. They need assistance, they need help. So that's a real feel good opportunity for our franchisees. So anybody that likes that, is great. Um, you don't really need a lot of experience in our space or in the trades, because we take care of all of that through our training programs and everything as well. Um, Someone that it is at the end of the day a relationship driven industry, so you do have to have some ability to network and develop those relationships. But I'm generally a pretty quiet guy, and I'm able to do it, no problem. So
Well, that's good for the introverts out there.
yes.
Um, in terms of competition, I know there are other companies out there doing restorations. Obviously, a huge industry. What really differentiates Disaster Blaster?
First and foremost, the number of services that we provide in the mitigation and restoration space, which is a great industry. It's virtually recession proof. People always need the services that we're providing. Um, the average among other brands is about 4 services that they provide. Disaster Blaster currently provides 13 services, and we're always developing additional services and opportunities for our franchisees, and ways that we can help the end user and the community. So that's a lot of revenue streams that are available through us that aren't available anywhere else.
Hmm.
Um, Additionally, because we come from the world of being prior franchisees, uh, we approached our Disaster Blaster franchise model a little bit differently than you might see otherwise, because we wanted to focus on something that's truly franchisee friendly. So we structured, our investment range 136 to about 242. A lot of that is customizable by how many services they're going to be launching with, which is going to impact how much equipment they need to start with. They can add different services as they grow or as they're needed. So there's a lot of opportunity there, just for them to kind of learn from what we kind of had experience ourselves, because at the end of the day, we wanted to provide our franchisees with what we wish we had when we had a franchise.
In terms of the item 19, I'm curious. I know you guys are a newer brand, started as far as franchising, I believe just, within the last 12 months here.
Mhm.
Can you give our listeners just sort of a high level overview of what they can expect in the item 19?
Sure. So our item 19 shows very strong and consistent growth year over year. One of the things that I always highlight with our item 19 is that while a lot of industries and a lot of businesses struggled through the coronavirus pandemic, we actually grew year over year. And that's a testament to the strength of our model and the service mix that we provide, because we were able to focus on things that were in very much high demand and high need, that maybe weren't subject to state shutdowns or different things there, to continue our growth trajectory, even with those sorts of issues that were impacting other businesses.
There any topics that I didn't bring up that you think might be valuable to our listeners?
I think at the end of the day, there's two things I would like to touch on, is the fact that our industry is very much a feel good industry. So people look at it, oh my gosh, someone had a fire, that uh, they're not going to want me in their life, but they very much do. Because at the end of the day, when someone has a fire or a pipe break or a flood, we're dealing with a lot of flooding here currently. You're a hero that's coming in to fix everything. So they're happy to see you. They may not be thrilled about the circumstances, but they're very happy that you're there to help. And so it's very much an industry that you can sleep well at night, knowing that you spent your day helping other people. I mean, you're building a great lucrative business, but you're at the end of the day, you're helping a lot of people as well. So it's great from that aspect.
Awesome. Well, thank you for joining us here today, Matthew. Really appreciate your time.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you having me on.